Hi, this is Bill Bennett, and I'm filling my prescription for freedom on Armed American Radio with Mark Walters.
And I bet you Bill Bennett would support my guest right now. In fact, probably does.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah, right? And we're going to get really nitty-gritty here into the down and dirty details about Dingle and the differences between these two candidates right here. But listen to this from my own show notes. Dingle has mentioned his concern about losing to Dr. Steele to many of his associates because he knows that Dr. Steele is the strongest political opponent he has ever faced during his, get this, 55 years in Congress.
That's a shame.
55 years. Michigan, 15th District. You're listening. Come on now. 55 years. I wouldn't want to be John Dingle right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Armed American Radio Network. That's beautiful, the Armed American Radio Network. If you would like to talk to my guest, Dr. Rob Steele, 877-956-9566. Now's your chance. And let's get right back to him because we know he's on call. Dr. Steele, welcome back to Armed American Radio. Lots to talk about.
Yeah, thanks. And I just got to say, thanks for the lead-in music with the Motor City Madman, Ted Nugent, who, of course, grew up in Detroit and then had a big ranch in Jackson, Michigan area, just a few miles west of Ann Arbor. And I was on Bill Bennett's show last week.
Oh, good for you. I did not know that. Very good. Yeah, that's good to know. And the Motor City Madman has been a guest on this show before. We're looking forward to having him back. He's touring right now. He's a little busy. We'll give him some slack. I have a lot to cover with you, things that are very, very important. This whole 55-year thing to me disgusts me beyond words.
Yeah, it's one of the main motivators for me to run. I mean, I'm a busy guy. Obviously, I got 4 kids. My wife's a doctor. And so for me to kind of, most people would figure at the peak of my career, 4 years into private practice, to potentially have to take a cutback in that to, try to put a stop to the madness and preserve the opportunity handed to me by the greatest generation, pass it on to the next generations. I mean, the spending right now is crazy, and that's one of the main things that just needs to stop. Is the spending needs to stop now. I mean, having maxing out the credit cards of the grandkids who aren't even born, that's not a financial plan. I don't teach my kids to max out credit cards, and I don't think your parents taught you either, but here we have the chairs of these committees and these senior congressmen trying to tell the kids, hey, look at us, see what we do. We max out people's credit cards, and they're not even, living in the same state.
No, they can print the money, and it's very disturbing. We could really get into some numbers with this, but, that whole 55-year thing brings me to this. Let's talk about term limits right out of the gate here. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think, term limits obviously made it through and then got dinged by the Supreme Court. Yeah, but I'm generally for term limits. You just got to make sure you do it right. We've had a situation in our state house in Michigan where we went for term limits. We didn't quite do it right, and we've got some challenges there. But overall, you're not going to see me there for 55 years. Because I'd be 109 by that time. But but I would have made it until Obamacare came along and all the research stops because it's going to be heavily taxed. I would have counted on living to 109 with all the advances that are taking place in medicine, but now we won't have to worry about that. But you won't see me there more than 12 years, absolutely. That would make me 64 and time to spend, doing other things. And to think that you can be away from living under the laws you pass and have some idea what it's like to, in the impact, you would have no idea, let alone never having done it ever. But even having done it for all these years, if you step away for too long, you would completely lose touch with the idea of what you're really doing and how it impacts people. These guys in Congress, I just was looking up Dingle's quarter 3 and 4 payroll for his office staff was $2 million. And these guys, I don't know exactly what they make up there these days, but they pass these laws saying, hey, if you make more than $250, you're rich and all that, and they make less than that, but they're living on they've got staffs worth a couple million, well, $4 million for a year, plus all their other expenses. So they have no idea what it's like to go out there and have discipline and work hard and succeed.
Well, you can't tell me that he's been in Congress for 55 years and had a job.
Well, you're right. I'm sorry.
You know?
I'm willing to be corrected at any moment. That's my kid.
I love it. Folks, you're listening to a Patriot. I hope you're paying very close attention to what's naturally flowing from Dr. Steele, because it's all real. It's common sense, and that's what we need in Washington right now, is to bring some common sense back when you're talking about out-of-control spending. 45% of the government's tax revenue is going to pay the interest on the debt. Yet they continue to spend and print money. If you ran your household like this, Dr. Steele, you'd be buried, you'd be broke, you'd be bankrupt.
Absolutely. And one of the things that's so important for people to understand is that policies matter. You know, Southeast Michigan is doing worse than any other corner of the country. You know, our state's been in recession for almost 10 years, stone cold for 6, and it's been at the bottom of the economic barrel for the country for all these years. And Southeast Michigan's the worst section of our struggling state, who've hemorrhaged jobs. But policies matter. When you look at Southeast Michigan, we not only have Congressman Dingell, the longest-serving representative in the United States House, we also have the second longest-serving representative in the House of Representatives. That's Congressman John Conyers. And both Conyers and Dingell used to represent portions of Detroit. And so when you look at what has happened in Southeast Michigan, their policies, which are the favored policies of Detroit and many other large cities, are now being expanded from Washington, D.C. to the rest of the government. If you want a preview of what's going to happen, just check out Detroit and other big cities.
That's been an argument that's been waged. You can see a lot of video on that on YouTube. Actually, there's some folks have done some really good work about the liberal policies and what it's done to Detroit. And that's right, Detroit is the poster child for that. And look at Detroit. I mean, you know, I remember as a kid, Detroit's always been a rough town. I remember Detroit being a rough town, but boy, I'll tell you what, it hasn't fallen apart like it has right now. And that area of the country, what's the unemployment up to in Detroit right now? 15, 16, 17%?
Yeah, it's on the books is about 14.7, but the real unemployment rate's felt to be up in the 25% range.
That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible, and that's what those social policies get you. Well, Conyers and Dingell, that's about as bad, Sean, as Frank and Dodd.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, a lot of people talk about, and they're mistaken on this whole idea of seniority and how important it is. And I hear all the time when I'm out talking to people on the campaign trail, oh, well, we have such a senior delegation, and it's so much power for us, you know, because we had Dingell as the head of Energy and Commerce, and we have Conyers as head of Judiciary, and then we have Sandra Levin, who's taken over for Charlie Rangel on Ways and Means while Charlie's on probation, but maybe that probation's going to be extended here, it looks like.
Hopefully.
And then you have Carl Levin, who's the head of Armed Services for the Senate. And the reality is, when you look at the state of Michigan, Michigan has been creamed by the federal government. When you take 30 years and end it in 2005, you know, for the 30 years ending 2005, the state of Michigan only got back 80.5 cents on every dollar sent to Washington. So the people of Michigan, you know, the best solution for Michigan right off the bat is to quit sending the money to Washington.
Sure.
Keep the money in the state.
Keep it at home.
20 cents a head. Invest it locally. Invest it in business. Invest it in jobs and entrepreneurship. We've got a great university, a lot of great universities here in the state of Michigan who are doing all kinds of good works and turning out very bright people. The problem is they're all leaving because there's no opportunity. And so we need to keep the money here and keep those bright young people at home. This is a crazy one. The state of Michigan is aging faster than Florida.
Wow.
Unbelievable. I've got a question for you about health care.
Yeah, sure.
Health care and guns. We're hearing a lot of rumblings right now that, you know, health care is this Obamacare is going to be. I hate even saying Obamacare. Let's just say health care.
Well, let's just call it Dingell Pelosi care would be my
Oh, yeah, got it. None of it sounds good, does it? Wow. Let's just... Okay.
It's very scary for the country, for the patient, and for the doctor-patient relationship. And there's a lot of stuff hidden in that bill that started back under the stimulus plan a year ago that most people didn't know about. But it's going to be a full-blown disaster with an incredible shortage of and exploding costs as well. I mean, it's the classic government situation where costs will explode, yet the services will be harder to get.
Well, we had to pass it to see what was in it. We're getting ready to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk with you about guns and the health care bill, because this health care bill is so damaging and so dangerous. I don't think most Americans really truly understand that when the government controls health care, which they're trying to do, they control you and everything about you. You're on the Armed American Radio Network. I'm your host, Mark Walters. We'll be right back with Dr. Robert Steele running against John Dingell in Michigan's 15th District. Don't go away.
Who's watching your home when you're not there? It could be a burglar. Burglars prefer to break in when they think no one is home and no one will stop them. Don't be an easy target for intruders. Protect your home with a free security system monitored by ADT, the leader in home security. Pick up your phone now and get free hardware, free medical and fire alert, and free activation. It's an $850 value. Just call Protect Your Home, your authorized ADT dealer, at 1-866-412-7799. You'll get 24-hour protection, and there's no cost for parts or activation. Call now about a free security system monitored by ADT. Call 1-866-412-7799. $99 installation charge, 36-month monitoring agreement at $35.99 per month. Call for terms and conditions to this offer and protect your home license numbers. Call now, 1-866-412-7799. That's 1-866-412-7799.
Visit the United States Concealed Carry Association online at usconcealedcarry.com. Formed in 2003 by Mr. Timothy J. Schmidt, the USCCA is the nation's ultimate resource for the armed citizen. Now boasting tens of thousands of members in all 50 states, the USCCA has become America's leading source of information for the law-abiding citizen who has chosen to arm themselves. Your membership to the USCCA will include a subscription to the association's flagship publication, Concealed Carry Magazine. Mailed to all members 8 times annually, Concealed Carry Magazine has become America's most important single source of information for those who choose to live the armed lifestyle. Each issue is packed with the information you need, including unbiased product reviews, gun safety tips, training techniques, and informative columns written by some of the most knowledgeable authors in the field of personal defense. Become a member of the USCCA today online at usconcealedcarry.com. Join the thousands of Americans who have made the same decision you have. Join today.
Do you have a family member who's getting older and can no longer be safely left alone? I'd like you to get to know Visiting Angels. Visiting Angels assists senior citizens and adults to continue living at home and not have to move into a nursing home. Experienced, compassionate caregivers will provide your loved ones with assistance in hygiene, meal preparation, and light housework. Home care services are provided up to 24 hours per day at affordable rates, and you may select your caregiver before service begins. Visiting Angels has become America's choice in home care, with 300 franchised locations across the nation. Call toll-free today at 877-374-LIVE. To find an office near you, visit www.visitingangels.com. For home care for your loved ones, call Visiting Angels at 877-374-LIVE. That's Visiting Angels, toll-free at 877-374-LIVE. L-I-V-E.
Deep concealment and amazing affordability combine in Galco's new Tuck and Go inside the waistband holsters. The Tuck and Go's open top allows for a fast draw, while the holster's reinforced mouth allows for smooth and easy reholstering. Available for over 35 models of handguns, the Galco Tuck and Go combines amazing affordability with the quality you expect from Galco gun leather. Galco, for those who demand the best and know the difference. To order online, please visit galcogunleather.com.
Hi, I'm Mike Gallagher, and I'm filling my prescription for freedom on Armed American Radio with Mark Walters.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. We've got a really good conversation going here with Dr. Robert Steele in Michigan's 15th Congressional District. And I want to point this out. Sean and I were talking during the break that, this is not just Michigan's 15th district here we're talking about. These races have national implications, especially in today's environment.
Yes, they do.
Don't they, Sean?
They really do.
And to oust a 55-year member, look, he needs to retire. Just do him a favor. Get him out. It's that simple. But the health care deal, Dr. Steele, welcome back, first of all.
Thank you.
Cardiologist, you've been in the medical profession for how long?
I graduated from med school in 1981.
Okay. And your wife is also a physician?
Yes, she is.
All right. Healthcare, guns, we touched on it before we went to a break. I get a lot of letters about how the healthcare bill can be used to circumvent the Constitution, and they can, really it boils down to, and we see these on questionnaires now. Do you have a gun in the house? You're not insurable. And we just saw from Harry Reid yesterday, Drudge Report was reporting that Harry Reid mentioned in no uncertain terms that there will be a public option.
That's what I figured.
Right, and
Yep.
he mentioned that. He was quoted at that just yesterday. You can go out and find it for yourself. Fetch it for yourself, folks. How dangerous is this bill to our Second Amendment right?
Well, the biggest danger, is probably going to be in the data mining of the records. There's this big push for electronic health records, and it actually wasn't in the health care bill, but was in the stimulus plan of February 2009 when the billions of dollars were floated out there in the stimulus plan for the Electronic Health Information Exchange and the Federal Council for Coordination of Healthcare Benefits. And this Health Information Exchange, this electronic health record, really the reason they want to do that, it's not because it's easier or cheaper, that's for sure. We've had electronic health records in our practice, and it's just a very difficult hurdle to implement and so forth, and really hurts efficiency at this point anyway. But regardless, the reason that the government wants to do it is because they want to be able to track care. They want to be able to see if you're following what they think should be done and these sorts of things, so that they can track diagnoses, subsequent treatments for the diagnoses, and these sorts of things, and whether you're following guidelines and all this. And of course, there's a lot of every patient's an individual, and the doctor-patient relationship is the most important. And then you have these guidelines, and I get letters all the time, helpful suggestions from various groups saying, well, why isn't your patient on this medicine? And the answer is, of course, because I tried that 5 times before you were involved, and it doesn't work for that person. Yet here I have to have staff, or myself spend time taking care of this stuff. So, for guns, they'll go at it a lot of ways, but the first way that's already been being implemented is the electronic health record.
All right, we see rumblings too about, this whole garbage about body mass index. The government's going after all this stuff now, and people just don't understand that this is truly about what? Control, is it not?
Absolutely.
100%. This is about control.
Yeah, and there used to be this joke, I'm looking for it because I want to put it on my website, but it used to be ordering pizza in the future, and you would start to order the pizza, and it would say, no, you can't have that, your cholesterol's too high, and then, in all these different things, and that's what's happening. That's gonna make its way, and it sounds far-fetched. It'll take a while, frankly. This isn't coming just next year or anything like that. Of course not. But, there's an inverse relationship between the power and control of the government and individual liberty and freedom. And our founding fathers understood that inverse relationship. They couldn't have, they believe, been more careful in the words they chose to put into our founding document, because we're a constitutionally limited republic. And we're supposed to be a nation of laws, and that's the backstop. You have a behavior, you want to pass a bill, you got to go, see what the law is. You can't just vote to take everything away from people. That's not how it works.
Yeah, it's how it works in Washington today, unfortunately, and unfortunately, the mindset in Washington today is that, we saw that with Sean, what Ken from Detroit,
yes,
coincidentally called in about, where we're backdooring the Supreme Court through legislation. And then, of course, we're backdooring legislation with activist judges on the court.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing this all the way around. It's a very scary thing. Now, Dr. Steele, you, I understand, have outraised John Dingell about 3-1 at this point, have you not?
No, that is not true. No, absolutely not. Dingell has opened up the PAC coffers, and this past quarter that we filed, he raised 400 and some thousand, and I raised about a little over 100. And virtually all of his money, of course, comes from PACs, and I don't have any money from PACs. And so let me just say to all your listeners out there, RobSteeleForCongress.com. You can hit the donate button. I've got an active Facebook page at Rob Steele for Congress, and we just freshened up our website with a new look just a few days ago, and that's been going great. And we've got a great donation situation where you can share it with your friends and post it on Facebook when you click the buttons, and so it's going to take a lot of individuals. And you had mentioned something that was really important that I like to make the point of, and you brought it up, that it has national implications. And I hear from people who are in other locations to say, well, why should I donate to this guy? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but that you could say about the individual race. But the big thing is to change a seat in this particular election from Democrat to Republican, because that will change the Speaker of the House. And we can see what's the control the Speaker of the House has used over this past 18 months to control to control the people, in the words of my opponent. And what a difference it makes for the chairs of these committees. And, we need different speaker and different chairs of these committees to have some people in there. Just for example, in Ways and Means, we had Charlie Rangel and now Sander Levin, a couple of careerists, and if the Republicans were in control, a man from Midland, Michigan named David Camp would be in charge of Ways and Means, and he's got some practical experience and would not be promoting some of these crazy tax laws and crazy carried interest financial stuff that they're trying to put through, and just going to stifle growth with endless regulation and taxes.
Yeah, this is, we hear this every election cycle, but it has never been more true than it is now. These are the most important elections of our lifetime, of our generation.
Well, it seems to be one after another, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. 2010 to 2012 scares me. I'm scared for my country. I'm flat out able to admit that. I'm worried about the direction this country's going, but I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing in this resurgence in folks who are literally paying attention and reading the Constitution and seeing what it means. Quick question for you. He doesn't want to debate you on health care, does he?
No, I don't think that's going to happen, even though you're probably familiar with WJR, a huge radio clear channel station here, and that's where the congressman made his famous control the people comment, and he tried to back off of that a little bit and clarify it the next day, but unfortunately got into a little disagreement with the host, a popular man named Frank Beckman, and at the end of that whole exchange offered to debate anyone anytime on health care. So, of course, within about an hour, we had faxed an acceptance to his office in Washington and laid one on his desk in Dearborn, but that hasn't quite happened yet.
You haven't heard back from him?
Well, we've heard that he was too busy.
Folks, listen, you hear that, the Constitution has built-in term limits. It's called a vote. And I have to question, and I know it's a power thing, I know, but the demographics in your area are changing now, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a strong Democrat district traditionally, and it's changed. Every 10 years it gets redistricted, and he lost, some kind of blue collar Democrats in the last changeover, and got Ann Arbor, which is a very different sort of Democrat, a much more liberal viewpoint than the rest of the district, where they tend to be UAW kind of Reagan Democrats, hardworking folks. A lot of them from the Mid-South came up after the war in Kentucky and those areas, and so it is changing, and it's a lot smaller. We've lost a lot of people. Michigan's shrinking.
Well, we're going to support you here at Armed American Radio. You have my word on that. We're going to endorse you. Now, the primary is the 3rd. Folks, get out and vote. Get out and vote. Make your voices heard. Dr. Steele, thanks so much for joining Armed American Radio. We'd like to follow up with you after the primaries, if that's okay.
That would be fantastic, and we can talk about a little more fun that we have out at Washtenaw Sportsman Club.
You got a deal. Thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Armed American Radio Network. I'm your host, Mark Walters. Thanks for tuning in.